Let's talk about a topic we all think we know, but the real story, the real consequences are so much deeper than we usually imagine. We're going to explore the true impact of war and follow its ripple effect from a single person all the way out to the entire globe.
Yeah, when you hear the word war, what pops in your head? Probably images of soldiers, right? Tanks, weapons, distant battlefields. But you know what? That's just the tip of the iceberg. The real, lasting impact of war, that's a human story. It's an economic story, and it's a global story that, believe it or not, affects every single one of us.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break this down. Think of it like ripples spreading out from a stone dropped in water. We'll start right at the center, at the human epicenter. Then we'll move outward to the shattered society. Then look at the global shockwaves it creates. And finally, we'll talk about the lingering echoes that can last for generations.
So, first things first, we have to start at the absolute core of any conflict, the incredible cost to individual people. This is ground zero. This is where the impact is most immediate and, honestly, most devastating.
And the most absolute, ultimate price? Well, it's the loss of human life. Every single one. A story that's been cut short. It's tragic. It's irreversible. And it's the foundation for every other cost we're about to talk about.
And for those who do survive, their entire world gets turned upside down. Families are just ripped apart, sometimes forever. Kids are forced from their homes, losing everything they know, their safety, their friends, their whole community, all in a flash.
The scale of this is just, it's hard to even wrap your head around. We're not talking about a few thousand people. We're talking millions forced to become refugees. And that creates these enormous humanitarian crises, where the most basic things, food, clean water, a safe place to sleep, suddenly become almost impossible to find.
So, it's just so important to remember this. Behind every number, every single statistic you see on the news, there's a real person. A person with a story whose life has been completely and forever changed. Now let's see how all of those individual tragedies add up.
Okay, now we're going to zoom out a little bit, from the individual person to the society they're a part of. Because war doesn't just hurt people, it takes a sledgehammer to the very things that hold a community together, leaving behind scars you can see, and a lot of scars you can't.
And what's so powerful here is this split, right? On one side, you've got the visible scars, the things we see on TV, bombed out hospitals, schools turned to rubble, bridges that are gone, power and water systems that just don't work anymore. But then there's the other side, the invisible scars, the deep collective trauma, the anxiety and fear that just hangs in the air. And maybe worst of all, the way it erodes trust between neighbors, between entire communities.
And that really hits on a crucial truth. You can rebuild a bridge in a couple years, but healing the psychological wounds of an entire nation, that can take generations. That fear, that distrust, that sticks around long after the last brick has been laid.
So we've seen the impact on people and society, but the ripples don't stop there, not even close. In the world we live in today, everything's connected. A conflict in one part of the world sends shockwaves across the entire planet, affecting economies and politics thousands of miles away.
And this is the stuff we all feel, no matter where we live. War can kick off crazy inflation. It can make the price of gas shoot up, affecting your daily budget. It makes stock markets go haywire. And as we've all seen, it can totally wreck global supply chains, making it harder to get everything from computer chips to food.
But it's bigger than just money. On a much, much bigger scale, war is like someone just sweeping their hand across the global chessboard. It has the power to completely redefine the entire world order.
Think about it. Alliances that have stood for decades can suddenly get strained or just completely reshaped. New tensions flare up between countries, which leads to all kinds of new policies and rules. The whole balance of power can shift, changing who the major global players are for years and years to come.
So what happens after the fighting stops? Well, that's often when the longest, and you could argue the hardest, part of the story begins. This is where we look at those lingering echoes of the conflict and the enormous, monumental task of recovery.
And that road back, it isn't a quick fix. It's a journey that can take generations. You've got to somehow heal the economy so people can work again. You have to painstakingly build political stability out of chaos. And on top of all that, you have to find a way to rebuild society itself, to mend all those broken bonds of trust.
But, and this is a really important but, in the middle of all this devastation, history shows us something else too, something incredibly powerful: human resilience. Because despite all of it, communities do heal, nations do rebuild, and peace, even though it's fragile, can be found again. And that kind of brings us to the bottom line.
The main takeaway from all of this: war is never, ever just about soldiers on a battlefield. It's a human crisis, an economic crisis, a psychological crisis, and a global one. And when we really truly understand all of those far-reaching costs, we can start to appreciate just how valuable peace really is.
So I'll just leave you with this thought to reflect on. We've just gone through the heavy, heavy costs of conflict. Those costs are pretty clear. But after all that, what do you think is the value of peace?